And good Tuesday morning. I'm meteorologist Peyton Malone. Haven't done a tropical update lately because, well, there hasn't been really anything going on in the tropics. Most people are just dealing with extreme heat across a big part of the globe. But wanted to give you a quick update on what's going on in the tropics, some things we're watching, and just give you a little preview of what's been happening. Now, the Eastern Pacific has actually been pretty active, but the Atlantic Basin has been quiet. So let's start with the Eastern Pacific here this morning. We've got a stale that's been ongoing out here for a couple of days. We're also tracking another area for development out in the Eastern Pacific as this all heads to the west here. So there's somewhat of an outbreak of storms recently out here, and this does sometimes happen, especially in the June and July months. But as you get closer into August, September, Eastern Pacific usually will start to settle down some. So that's the Pacific. And the Atlantic Basin, well, it's been nice and quiet, and partly thanks to some Saharan dust, that's dry air, but other things, there's been a lot of wind shear. It's just been a very hostile environment, and that's going to continue for the foreseeable future, especially the closer to home. So notice this is a look at the Gulf of Mexico. There's really not any of storms developing in the Gulf. Lots of Saharan dust has been in and out. There's some dusty skies over the parts of Texas, Oklahoma, and even northern Louisiana and Mississippi. Another little plume coming into the southern Gulf there. So things are looking quiet there, and it's going to stay that way for the time being. Deeper in the tropics, the Caribbean, nice and quiet. And then look at this, another big outbreak of Saharan dust coming off the continent of Africa. Now, it's not that we don't have tropical waves out here. We do, and we've had several tropical waves traveling across the Atlantic Basin the past week or so. It's just been too hostile. It's been too dry out there, and they haven't been able to really take advantage of anything and develop. There is a pretty nice tropical feature, or tropical wave coming off. Lots of showers and storms associated with it right now. But look at all this dry air on the north. This is Saharan dust, also meeting dry air. A lot of this is more than likely going to get kind of wrapped up into this, and that should keep this from doing much. Now, it does have some showers and storms, and it's going to produce some showers and storms, but the environment just doesn't look very friendly to this thing right here, and probably not going to do much in the near term. But the rest of the basin, it is dead quiet, and it looks like it will probably stay that way for a little while. Now, kind of an outlook on what we've got going on with all of our background environment, La Nina, wind shear, ocean temperatures, all these things we keep an eye on. We still got La Nina, and it looks like the La Nina will continue to strengthen over the next several months. And remember, when we have a La Nina, we usually see lower wind shear over the Atlantic Basin, and that sometimes allows the hurricane season to really flourish. So that looks to still be on track there. The Gulf of Mexico is still boiling hot. We've had our heat wave. This heat wave is only going to add to this, and most of the Gulf of Mexico is running above average for this time of year. Some locations are sitting in the low 90s, especially in those shallower waters near the coast of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. The Caribbean's nice and warm. Now, the main development region is a bit different. It's the anomaly here. We've actually seen a surge in trade winds, meaning the winds have picked up a little bit. And what that often does is it allows those sea surface temperatures to either cap off, not warm at all, or they actually can decrease. And what we've watched over the past week or so is the sea surface temperatures in the main development have gone down just a tad. It doesn't necessarily mean that's going to continue throughout hurricane season, but this can sometimes kind of hinder development as well. That coupled with the dry air, all these types of things, probably not going to see much going on in here in the near term. But water temperatures, they have capped off generally and even dropped a little. They will probably rebound at some point as we go through this season. So just a little preview of where we're at, and compare it to what we're forecasting. We've had 3 named storms so far. Alex was in early June. Bonnie and Colin were in early July. And for the past couple of weeks, we haven't seen anything. You compare that to last year. We had 5 storms at this point last year. We had 1 hurricane. You might remember Elsa. And so we're just a little bit behind last year, and we're way behind 2020, that crazy season. So far, we are forecasting 20 storms. So we will see if we get 17, 10 hurricanes. We don't have any hurricanes, and 5 major hurricanes. But as you know, part of hurricane season, it has yet to get here. Now we get into July, and we typically see these lulls. I went back over the past 5 years, and I looked at how many days do we sometimes see in between named storms, especially in July when we seem to go through these kind of breaks in the tropics. This year we're up to 16 days. Last year we went 33 days. We went nearly most of July and early June, or early August rather, before we saw another storm. 2020, that was an exception. That was a wild year. We only had 10 days of no storm formation. 2019, it was 37 days. 2018, it was 27 days. So the general theme is there. We typically can sometimes go nearly a full month without a tropical system forming, and that happens in July. So July is not always crazy active like it was in 2020. And notice we are 16 days in right now. We will probably add another 7 to 10 days to that at minimum, I imagine. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get up into the 25 plus days of no-name storms here. That does put us into August, and we will likely see things ramp up in August, but that's usually what happens. So when you look at the tropical climatology here, we're looking back decade after decade after decade. Most storms start to form in August and September, and sometimes even early August is inactive, but middle August things ramp up and sometimes ramp up very, very quickly as we go into September. And of course, the peak of hurricane season is usually in a general sense within the first 1 to 2 weeks of September. That little peak you see there is usually around September 10th, 11th or so. And then in busy seasons, it can remain active into October. So, we haven't seen anything really going on recently. Doesn't mean the season is canceled here, and it is somewhat normal for us to have a lull in the tropics this time of year. Just recapping our names, our next name is going to be Danielle and then Earl. We've had Alex, Bonnie, and Colin, and usually the D storm doesn't form until the middle of August, and that may be the case this year. So we will just track it for you, but enjoy the quiet tropics while we can. We know it's not going to last forever. We're still forecasting that busy season here, and for now, most of us are just dealing with the extreme heat, so be careful if you're dealing with that. But that's going to do it for our Tuesday morning tropical update. Thanks for joining. I'm meteorologist Peyton Malone.